Okay, hey everybody. It's nice to meet you all. I want to start this talk by saying I do not work for GitLab. I was actually a co-founder of GitHub, so it makes it particularly funny. But I told Shiny that if he gave me a t-shirt, I'd wear it on stage. So here we go. I left GitHub a long time ago now and started a new company working on a Git desktop client with Creel here, who's been working on some fun stuff that I get to show off. So take everything that you learned for the most part in the jiu-jitsu talk. We also do most of those things because we steal a lot of their ideas and they steal one or two of ours. But one of the main differences is you don't have to co-locate. They actually kind of do their front end as the main sort of database that they work on, and then they have Git as one of many possible backends. We are a Git client that stores extra metadata that tries to accomplish a lot of the same things. So some of this is going to be somewhat familiar here. So some of the things that we do, one thing that Jiu-Jitsu does not do that they've kind of tried to do with like the mega merge stuff, if you ever do use Jiu-Jitsu, is we do parallel branches. We used to call them virtual branches. Now we call them parallel branches because it's a little bit more clear. But you can be on multiple branches simultaneously. And what we do is we kind of automatically manage a merge commit for you. So every time you're doing something, we kind of hide that in our user interfaces. But you can be on 3 or 4 or 5 branches in one working directory and keep everything up to date simultaneously as long as there are like no hunk locking problems. We also do stacked branches natively, so if you are using GitLab and you're not using Gerrit, and you want to sort of do essentially commit-based review or the equivalent of commit-based review because branch-based review doesn't do that very well, you can use that. I won't go over that for this. But one of the things we do is we do very, very simple versions of being able to amend, squash, split, edit, rebase without using rebase. So everything you can do rebase-i in the most complicated ways, we allow you to do that very, very simply, right? So it's a relatively good match for people using Gerrit workflows. The way that you'd install it, so all of the stuff I'll show today is available in the nightlies right now and should be available in the next major release, which will probably be next week. But I wanted to show it off. You can also brew install it, and it'll link the CLI that I'll show a little bit later. But you can sort of VS Code-wise, or like, go in and install the CLI from the GUI. But primarily, it's a GUI where we're adding a lot of CLI stuff that does the same thing. The way that you have to tell GitButler that this is a Gerrit project right now is to set a git config setting, and then it'll go into sort of Gerrit mode and assume you're working with a Gerrit repository. In the future, we should be able to figure that out automatically and help you set that. All right, so I'm going to show you a couple of things that we've done. So again, primarily, this is what it looks like. We are a normal, just sort of Git client. So this is what it looks like. So we have our unassigned area. So this would be all of the files that I've modified so far. So we can kind of go down there and see, OK, here's all the changes in all of the files that we have doing something. So we would typically, you'd want to commit, right? So you can create a new branch. So let's create a new branch. Let's see. New CLI stuff, Gerrit, whatever. Again, you can see you can create independent branches, stacked branches, but we don't have a branch yet. So I'm going to create a new branch. I get this new branch. Since we can do multiple branches, we have different lanes sort of for each branch. So I can do, readme stuff, whatever. And it creates, I'm on now 2 branches at the same time. And then in order to commit, there's a couple different ways that you can commit. But if you start a commit, it'll say, here's all the files. Do you want to commit these? I don't want to commit these ones, right? Or I can actually look in some of these. I can do and undo hunks. So if I want to commit or not commit a specific hunk, or I can say I only actually want to commit these lines, right? And so I can just select the lines. Partial commit. And then I'm left with kind of whatever's left over, right? The other kind of cool thing that you can do is you can amend by dragging and dropping. So if I want to amend that commit, I drag it into the commit, and that amends the commit. I can also undo stuff. So if I want to undo this commit or this file change out of that commit, I just drag it back to unassigned, and it rewrites the commit. This also actually, so let's do this. This also actually works if you want to do multiple commits and commit that in there. And now if I drag one of these into this bottom one, it will amend that and then rebase anything that's on top of it, right? So most of this makes sense, but take 1 second and think about how long those 10 operations would probably take you to do in Git, right? You can also split commits relatively easily. We stole sort of an idea from Jiu-Jitsu here, which is inserting a blank commit. So I can come in here and I can, hold on 1 second, add an empty commit above or below the one that I'm on. It creates an empty commit. I can edit the message. There's nothing in it right now, right? So it just has the same tree as the one below it. And then I can take a file and I can drag it into there, or I can take a file and I can drag it into there. And then I have those two changes. So it's relatively easy. I think everybody kind of gets the concept here. So the thing that we've been working on is Gerrit support, right? So as you can see in all of these, because I have the Gerrit mode on, every time that I create a commit, it creates a change ID for me automatically. So I don't have to run a commit message script, right? I don't have to, this is all baked into the Rust code. So if that flag is set, any commits that you're creating as you're doing this will create a proper change ID for you. We also have been working with the Gerrit team and the Jiu-Jitsu team to have commit IDs or change IDs in the commit header. So if you actually look at one of these, you can see that we put in this change ID. We're changing this format to be the same format that Jiu-Jitsu uses when it creates commits as well. And the Gerrit team we've been kind of talking with them on if you could get rid of the trailer and just look for the commit header so you actually don't have to see these trailer IDs in all of your commit messages. And it would just be sort of hidden in the thing. Because this is, everything that I'm doing here, sorry, this is in my way. Everything that I'm doing here is a real Git command, right? So I can show like everything, all of this code that I'm making, it's a real sort of Git. You know, if I run git status, it'll show me the same thing that GitButler will show me, right? So you can run essentially any Git commands in these repositories as well. And it's a real, it's not, if you, yeah, anyways, it's fine. It's a real Git sub. Okay, so now I want to show pushing, right? So this is kind of the first version of this, but you can also, when you push, it figures out what to push to, because by default, the way that we set it up, when you initialize a repository, we ask you what is the integration, what's the target branch? And so it's always like origin main, origin master, or whatever it is that you're trying to get changes sort of submitted to. So since you tell us that, we already know the refs for sort of ref to push to automatically, so you don't have to set that up anywhere. And you can set a topic or a hashtag or set it to a whip or whatever, right? So I'll go ahead and push. So once it does that, it pushes to that, it gets the URLs back, and it links the commits to the URLs. And then I can click on those and go directly to that particular problem set. So then what's really nice is that if I wanted, let's say that I get some feedback on this, right? I can go, let's see. I can go into VS Code, feedback, and then I have my sort of feedback lines here, and I can drag it into the commit that I want to amend, and then push it up again. And then if I go in here, now I'm on patch set 2, right? So I can just kind of change this commit if I edit the message, if I do, if I add files into it, whatever. It's relatively, it'll push it to the right thing and it'll do the right thing, and I can just kind of see which of these have Gerrit changes associated with them. So let's see. Automatic ref pushing, I already went over that. Actually, I already went over pretty much all of this. All right, parallel branches. Oh, yeah, I didn't really show that. The other thing that we can do here, let's see, let's put this here. Let's just start you can actually, we do have this concept of staging areas, similar to Git. Most of the time, when I hit start a commit, I'm just kind of pulling out of the unassigned stuff. But if I'm not sure that I want to commit yet, I can put it in the staging area of each lane, and I can have multiple staging, like one staging area per sort of virtual branch that I'm working on. And then when I'm ready to commit, it will by default only assign that, and then I can create a commit message based on that. Let's do something understandable. But the nice thing about this is that if you look at this, right? If I just changed this, so I'll push it again. So now I should be on patch set 3. That's a little hard to see, huh? Well, that's even harder to see. Okay, so now I'm on patch set 3. But you can see that it does the relation chain, right? So everything that's in one particular lane will be connected with a relation chain. Anything not in a separate lane will not be part of a relation chain, right? So this is kind of nice because now you can work on lots of patches in one working directory and decide what should or shouldn't be dependent on each other. And you know, do topics and WIP and all of that stuff as well. If anybody has any questions while I'm going, feel free to throw them out as well.
Can you move files between commits?
Didn't I already do that? I already did that.
You wanted to ask a question? I know.
He asked me if I could move files between commits, which I think I already showed. But you can take a file out of one commit and amend it into any other sort of commit that'll allow it, right? So I can move that around. OK, so I'll push all these up. Yeah.
This is really beautiful. How are your multiple staging areas represented? Are they like
in metadata, basically?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we can show them when you run our CLI command. If you're running git status, they all just show up as uncommitted, right? Like Git has like one head and one branch that it's on at a time, and so we have to mess around with sort of this mega merge thing that you can see when you run. Like, I mean, if you run, you know, git log, like you can see kind of how this is presented here, right? We have two commits on one and one commit on the other, and then we have this sort of mega merge that we hide generally. But yeah, like Jiu-Jitsu as well, we have the concept of an operations history. So everything that I've been doing this whole time, it records all of those changes. Anytime that I'm changing state, it records what it looked like right before I did that, and I have a revert button on all of these, or I can create a specific snapshot if I want to. And I believe, I forget how often we do it, but like we have a file system watcher. Every 5 minutes or so, if we've seen anything changed, we'll create an automatic snapshot so you can go back to that. It's not quite as often as Jiu-Jitsu does it. It does it every time you're running a command, basically. But we will do that. So all of that is pretty cool. But there's also a CLI. It is called BUT, short for GitButler, in case you were wondering. So in our CLI, we can do pretty much all of the things that I've shown so far, right? So for the oplog thing, ours is called oplog. It's not two different words. But we have a whole bunch of sort of states, and we can restore to any of these states. And we can kind of go back in time to some previous point. You also can do undo similarly, and it will simply just kind of undo the last thing in the operations log.
Do you have it where you can do undo multiple things like Jiu-Jitsu recently got? So you can undo an operation and then undo again. Will it undo the undo, or
no?
Will it
undoes. Okay. It undoes the undo.
Okay.
Currently, the CLI is a little bit new, so we're trying to figure out what feels right or what you would expect it to do. And basically, anything that you do, including a restore, just goes onto the top of the stack. And so you can always undo if you want to, but you just have to go kind of one more back.
Okay.
Or actually, an undo would undo the undo. But like if you want to go farther back, it's not kind of walking through it like Photoshop style or something.
Right. It's presumably revert to a specific point in it or something like this.
Right.
Okay, cool.
So the other thing you can do is if you run but status, it will do sort of the combination of git status. So git status should show me these three files. If I can do that, right? Git status will show those three files. We show those three files. We essentially show everything that's on the workspace of the GUI, right? So we show you which branches you have, any files that are in there. If you do -f, it'll also show you the sort of a diff stat, I guess, like just sort of what files have changes that are included in the commits in there. And if it has a Gerrit URL, it'll show the Gerrit URL here, so we can again like go straight to that particular change set. If you'd like to. So let's see. That's all the fun stuff for like normal stuff you would probably think of. But we have, in trying to figure out how to make there be fewer verbs, we don't have sort of split and amend and edit and blah, 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 blah. We do have sort of one verb that's called rubbing. which I like to think about it as sort of a Minecraft crafting table, right, where you put like two things in and you get a third thing that's sort of the logical operation of putting those two things together. And so I'll show you how to do all these things. So we can assign changes the way that we sort of staged stuff into a particular branch. So you can see that we do this shortcode sort of thing here as well. So if I rub, let's say the README is VE, you can also do the paths, but we do the shortcode so it's a little bit faster into, let's put it down here into TB. And then we can see the status. And so now it's assigned to that, right? So now it's staged there. But we can also, and then we can commit it if we want to. We just say which of the branches we want to commit. And now there's a new commit in here. But I can also, it also actually, I'm sorry, I did it, if you do it, let's see if I can undo that properly. Yeah, it doesn't keep the assignments right now. But I can run, let's see, VE into TB, and then -O is only, otherwise it'll do everything in there and the unassigned changes as well. All right, so now I still have these ones that are unassigned. One of them was locked, so it didn't put it in there because it has a hunk overlap with something else. But I can also, oops, unassigned changes. So if I had an assigned change, what I do is I rub it to 0, 0, right? And then so let's do that real fast. QX is the main.rs, and I'll try to put it in this one down here. And so it's assigned, right? And then I can rub MO, so that's the new operator it has, to 0, 0, and then it unassigns it. So unassigned, like 0, 0 is the special, just undo something, like rub it into nothing and kind of undo it, right? So yeah, so now I'm back. But I can also, create branches. You don't need to see that. Committing I just did. Amend and commit. So this is kind of the nice thing. I can rub a Y6. So this guy, I don't actually know where it's locked, so I'll do this. Let's do it down here. And it amends the commit, right? So then it puts that file into that commit and then rebases everything on top of it. So most of the things that you think, we were trying to figure out, like, you know, of all of the different things that we have, commits or unassigned files or assigned files or uncommitted files or whatever, what makes sense when you put any two of them together, right? What operation are you trying to do? So I can also move files between commits. So if I want to take this push code and move it up here into the clone and main one, I can do that. And it moves it up here, and so on and so forth. And then if I push, oops, I forget. Then it'll update the same Gerrit things, right? So now I have a new patch set here as well. Yeah, I can uncommit. Can anybody guess how you uncommit? So let's see if we can uncommit E7. I'm not sure if I have to 0, 0. So now it just undid that commit, and now that's the only commit in that branch now, right? Let's see. Oh yeah, I can also move commits. So let's see if I can do that. Rub A9 into SS, and then that'll move this commit into this branch. So, and then you can see here, this is one that it hasn't seen, right? I haven't pushed that anywhere. Now it looks like a new sort of thing. This one has been changed and hasn't been pushed yet because there was a rebase that happened, and so on and so forth. Yeah, move. I already did that. Oh, and then the last kind of fun thing is marking. So this is similar to what Jiu-Jitsu. I didn't really like. There was a thing that I thought was really cool in Jiu-Jitsu, but I didn't love the usability of it, which was when you do new, it essentially creates a new commit, and then anything that you're changing on disk every time you run a Jiu-Jitsu command, it automatically amends whatever commit you're on. So you can edit something in the past, but then you don't have any of the changes after that, right? If that makes sense. For us, we have something that is very similar, except you don't have to edit. You don't have to check out a commit that's several commits down. You can mark it, and then anything it sees new from that point forward goes into that. So let's just commit all this stuff that's here. And Let's see, why didn't it do that? Oopsie, 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 hold on. Reactivity is hard. Okay. Let's see if that works. Okay, so we have a couple of commits on here. If I want to mark one, say this new README, right? I don't have to undo all of the stuff that's in new stuff from my working directory. I can just say, let's mark one C. And if I look at the files that are in there now, there's just this README. I can say readme.new cool. And now it is part of that, right? It just sort of, everything that it sees from this point forward, it automatically tries to put into that commit and then rebases the stuff that's on top of it. So yeah. The little, I think I'm, oh no, I still have a good amount of time. Sorry, I move fast through this, I guess. Let's see, what's another fun thing I can do? Let's see if I can do this. This may not, no, I can't do that. It's ambiguous. It's ambiguous. And for most of these things, the shortcode, we just decided to just do 2 letters, and you can have ambiguity, and so if you do, you can just use the whole SHA, or you can use the branch name or whatever. But most of the time, it works. Let's see, what was I going to do? That is already marked. What's that? Actually, this isn't going to work. I was trying to figure out how to make a merge conflict. Let's not do that. The way, usually, it tries to have you not make merge conflicts in sort of these automatic ways. What happens with merge conflicts is when you update from the base. So if upstream has changed and it conflicts with what you have, when you try to pull it down, what it does is it does the rebase, but it does what Jujitsu does, which is it gets to the point of something that conflicts, and it doesn't stop and make you fix it. What it does is it saves the state of the conflict. So it says, here's the 3 trees I tried to merge together, and it just essentially applies everything that it can apply and creates sort of a 4th state that says, this is what I could do like with what I had. And then it applies the rest of the patches. And so you can have multiple commits that go into a conflicted state. And then when that happens, what you do is you edit it, you check that one out on disk and just get those merge conflicts, and you fix those, and then you say, okay, go, and then it rebases again, right? And the nice part about this, I think, is, well, you can always undo it if you're not in the mood to do that. But you can also, it splits up your merge conflicts in a larger branch into multiple sort of individual chunks, right? So it's not, I mean, I guess Rebase Interactive does, or the Rebase does that as well, but it like stops you at every point, right? Like you can't, with us, you can keep committing, right? You can do more stuff and then go back and fix your conflicted markers later.
You reorder the way to simulate that.
Does that work?
I mean, if you have a conflict, you can simulate it.
Yeah, no, I think that's because I messed with it.
If you make a conflict in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's see.
You're making a new commit that will overlap.
Okay, I'm too tired to do this. Okay, and then you just unmark it. So let's see. Yeah, the other fun thing is that there is a JSON command. So if this is what your status output is, you can also do -j, and it will give you the same data as JSON, right? So if you want to script stuff or whatever, like Git is generally a pain in the ass. Like actually, this is. I'll show you what the porcelain command looks like for git blame, right? Like it's like, here's a great way to like, you know, have a computer sort of do this. There's a bunch of them that have -- porcelain commands, but I really like this. The way that we actually do this is all written in Rust, and so we basically just take the Rust structs and serialize it through CERD and are like, here you go, right? So it's pretty much exactly the data that we're using to show you through the CLI. And not all of the commands take this yet, but there what we would like to do is make sure that every command that you have access to, you throw -j and you get a JSON version of that, which I think is pretty cool. And that is everything that I have for today. So I will do questions if anybody has questions. Otherwise, thank you very much.
Can I start with
question
one?
here.
So, Scott, you made actually Gerrit look very sexy
Oh.
with a very sexy client UI. So, one and the main the main objections that the people we talked to of adopting Gerrit was first, there is no client UI, and second, it's so difficult to amend commits. So,
Yeah.
we have seen from your talk that first, the client UI is cool. And the command line, I always like command line. This is even cooler than the other one. It is so easy to do a decent code review workflow. So where do you see the future? The future using more GitHub and server-side, let's say, management of the commit, or do you see the future where people do more on the client side with either Jiu-Jitsu or GitButler, and maybe using more some change-oriented workflow? Maybe Gerrit.
So
do you
yeah,
think?
I mean, I think I'm curious what GitHub and GitLab will do. I think change-based review is a much easier way of breaking up stuff than stacked branches, which I think the only reason that stacked branches are a thing is because of GitHub and GitLab, not doing change-based review. I think that AI tools really change the need for review and to be able to split up review and to be able to like a thing you can't really do in GitHub, for example, or in my company GitLab, is you can't really do what you can do in Gerrit really nicely, which is say, okay, here's a stack of 9 interdependent changes, some of which were done by AI, some of which were done by me, or reviewed by me, or edited by me, or whatever, and push it up and say, okay, these 6 or 7 are good, and these 2 still need work, right? Like it immediately becomes a nightmare in GitHub because best you can do is say, what's the difference? What did the last 2 commits introduce, right? Or what was so people don't want to, or you force rebase, or you rebase and force push stuff, and now it's soup. Now you can't tell what you saw or what you didn't see. And that's in addition to sort of difficulties working with people. I mean, it's not super easy, right? Like we're not doing.
Nowadays, but they are not great.
Yeah, and it's not range diff, right? It's not like it's hard to. You can do inner diffs, but not. You can't see what was the last couple of versions of this commit, right? Really?
Okay, not for a specific commit, but you can basically see like the diff between like the whole version of the patch series. It's still
Like if you look at at this, like Scott force pushed something, do you want to see what that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's still no range diff, and
Yeah.
I would also love to have range diffs in GitLab because
Yeah.
it makes sense. I mean, I use it all the time on the Git mailing list,
Yeah.
So I also want to have that in GitLab.
Yeah, I mean, we built this because I like this. Like, I like the idea of crafting good commits, and I think with AI, so actually something that I didn't show at all is, I mean, we're not at a tech conference if I'm not showing off AI stuff, right? But then, so we have a Claude code wrapper as one of our tabs, and so you can say like, something, and then switch to that context, and then have the aid like that, and then whatever it does, it will try to put on that branch and commit to that branch and use the prompt as the initial commit message so that it can be sort of editable. But I feel like I can run I can run several of these at the exact same time, and they're all committing to branches that are in the same workspace, which can be good or can be bad. It depends on if you're trying to launch agents that are cooperative or competitive. But as long as, and if they do see that they're going to overlap, they at least read what the other one's doing in the same, like if you do work trees, then what you're going to do is create a bunch of merge conflicts with yourself, right? And so I think as we get more into this area of figuring out how to use LLMs and figuring out how to use AI tools, that there's going to be a lot of code that's produced. It's going to be a harder thing to make sure that we're doing good review on it because you don't want to put something in that nobody's ever looked at, right? And it's easier if you can chop them up and have commit-based, or shorter portions of the review process.
More or less a year ago, if GitButler has gone with the fair source license, if I remember well.
Yeah.
So now in a few months, there will be a one of the older version that goes under the MIT or so what do you think will happen then?
What?
What do you think will happen then when there will be a version under MIT?
I don't think anybody will use it. I mean, so so we kind of wanted to do what is this? Sorry. We wanted to do open source, but we also kind of wanted to be defensible and just have people be able to be part of the community, or even send PRs in or learn from the source code or whatever. But if we're raising capital or something, not be like, hey, we have this free thing, right? That we're not monetizing. Like our thing has always been, we want to have a good free client that everybody can use and we can support, and then figure out, at some point, maybe we can do a code review system that works well with this. Sorry. But or be able to have some, if some large company wants to use this for everybody that's working on Gerrit because it makes it easier, like, can we have a service model for that or whatever, right? Like, and we just didn't. So the FSL is essentially the MIT license with a non-compete clause. So it's arguable that it is not OSI. But I also have a book that I wrote, pro Git. So if you go to gitsem.com, all of the book documentation is written by me and was donated over a Creative Commons license with a non-compete clause, right? And so I think everybody kind of calls that open source because it's like online and I take contributions and stuff, but it does have a non-compete clause. So it's only in software that you can't have a non-compete clause. So FSL we treat it as an open source project. We just don't want, I don't know, GitLab to come in and be like, this is our client. I'm just kidding. But that's why. So yeah, that's the only reason. But it's a rolling license. So yeah, the code that was available 2 years ago is probably, probably coming up on it being open source now. So that is the MIT. We just have a 2-year head start is all that we're doing. But our business plan is this will always be essentially open source software that we just have a little bit of control over in case somebody tries to fork it and we don't like them, right? Yeah.
I mean, like, so for, it's just a follow-up. So when there will be an MIT version available, what happens if someone tries to fork the old version that has gone under MIT?
They can do that. They just have to spend 2 years, getting to the same point. But if they liked it then and want to take it in another direction, then that's totally fine, right? That's kind of the point. Like, we want people to feel like if they like something at some point, they can just wait, and then this will all be MIT licensed in 2 years from today.
Just coming back to the stealing part, I mean, we are stealing some things from GitButler, but we're not really stealing them into GitLab, but into Git itself, because we are trying to backport some of the nice features that JJ has, but also that Git has. Because like right now, I have a patch series on the mailing list and review that is basically introducing a nice way to edit history. With a git history reword command where you can just like easily say, I want to reword that commit, and you don't have to like care about anything that is currently modified in the working tree. Also things like git history split so that you can split up a commit into 2. So we're trying to learn a little bit in the Git project, at least from the nice features that both JJ and also GitButler actually bring into the picture.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you go to any, Git adjacent conference in the last 2 years, it's always like Kirill and Steiny and me and a handful of, GitLab people. But like, it's the same, and Jiu-Jitsu people, actually. We're all sitting next to each other. Like, I'm in all of these chat rooms, and we're kind of stealing ideas from each other and figuring out what works for this. Like, we've taken a lot of inspiration from not only the ideas that Jiu-Jitsu has had, that we didn't, like, if it's a format that they're doing and we like that idea, then we'll try to be close to that format so that maybe there can be some interoperability. at some point. And now the Git project is kind of looking at how Jujitsu and GitButler are doing things and saying, okay, if we do this, we should probably do it this way because both of them are doing it this way. So like, there's no reason for us to all bifurcate necessarily unless there's a super, super good reason for it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think that this is one of the things that JJ really brought into the picture because there's finally good competition again on the client side. And this competition actually means that Git is becoming less stale and is trying to innovate a little bit again, or at least to catch up in some of the parts. I mean, we won't ever get everything that JJ has because we won't be getting rid of the staging area, for example. That will not really be something that we can do. But a lot of the other features should be, in theory, possible to backport into Git as well, so that everyone can benefit.
Yeah, Jujitsu is very interesting, I think, partially because most of their focus really is on providing an internal front end for Piper, which is that's their back end. That's really like the first class back end. And then Git is kind of the proof of concept back end that nobody there really uses, right, that much. But the entire external community uses. And so they pay a lot of attention to it because they want to make sure that it's good for the community. But like we don't have any of the rev set stuff because we don't really care. We'd rather just say, here's a good way to work and tools that are very simple to do it and not have to write. I mean, like Jujitsu is like developing like an internal language for Jujitsu to help with the scripting and things like that. So we'll probably not go into that for a while if we do. So it's a little bit different mindsets, but I think it's an interesting time in version control because it's the first time in a while that people are really, trying to be like, it would be cool and create commercial, large-scale products with large teams working on them. So that being said, we are hiring. If anybody loves Rust and Git and wants to help us out with any of this stuff, please let me know. And if you like my slideshow presentation software, you can find it on GitHub, but I'm gonna put it, actually, I'm gonna take it off that and put it on GitLab now that I'm working there. All right, thank you very much. Oh wait, did we have one more?
Yeah, you showed operating in the Git repo using the Git client in addition to the But client. Do they need to stay out of each other's way, or is that automatic for you?
Right now, the only real problem that we have, well, if you were using the Gerrit stuff, then you also have to have the commit message hook implemented, which I believe we do respect, but we run it after ours, so it would just do nothing. The way that the shell works is it greps for that. But the only main problem we have right now is the mega merge thing. So if you do commit, if you do commit, we have this commit here. Actually, if you run git log, we have this big scary message that's like, don't do stuff right now, right? Like get out of this state. And you can go into GitButler, and if I check out one of these branches, I can check out this branch, and then GitButler kind of right now goes into a read-only state where it's like you can't make commits right now because I don't have my merge that I can move around. We can get rid of that if you're only on one branch, but we can't get rid of it if you have more than one branch applied at the same time because we want Git status to match what but status would say, right? And it won't do that if we don't see all of the commits that are in all of your branches, sort of the union of all of them, right? Because we need to know what's been committed and what hasn't been committed. Anyways, sort of along. So if you commit right now, you'll commit on top of this. And we have gone back and forth. We do it now automatically? We can fix it, right? But like if you have files that should go into two different ones, now we have a little bit of a problem of where to put this because you can have stuff in that commit you did on top of this that have things locked to multiple branches, right? Because they overlap hunks in different branches. And so we have to figure out how to split it up in a way that's somewhat complicated. Or it's not hard, it's just hard to make it so that it does what you think it would do, because I think everybody has a slightly different idea of what they think it would do. But yeah, we used to have a file system watcher that would watch this and look for it and help you fix it immediately. But that's the only thing where you really can't, that's committing when you're on the workspace, on our special workspace thing is a little more complicated. But yeah, in the future, we're going to get rid of that and just have it, if you're on one branch, you can go back and forth and commit it, both of them and do whatever you want, and it's completely fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, and have a safe flight, and thank you again for coming. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.